Welcome to Films and Stuff with your hosts, Pete Mitchell and Ethan Hunt.
Pete, Films and Stuff cinematic episode today.
Indeed, it's going to be a first movie review in a long time.
A long time. The cinema has been dry, I think, of anything that you and I have been interested in since what? Bullet Train?
Maybe Bullet Train, maybe. Yeah, there's a couple. I saw a couple of streaming movies like Raymond and Ray.
Yeah.
But these are not like cinematic blockbusters like this movie is. So
this is blockbusterist of the blockbusters, right?
Yeah, I mean,
it's got
we'll
The
get
Rock.
into it.
It's DC. Say what you will about DC. It's still, big blockbuster, big budget, big expectations. So here we are, Black Adam.
That's right.
What was your level of excitement, anticipation going to this? I mean, were you like refreshing your browser constantly to see when tickets were available? Were you bouncing to the cinema? Were you in your seat 15 minutes early? Where was your level of enthusiasm for this?
It was rock bottom. Pun
Whoa.
intended.
Really?
Yeah,
So
low?
low?
I totally forgot that this was on our list. And I'll tell you, the only reason I even remembered that this movie was coming out was I saw a double-decker bus drive by with the Black Adam poster, as an advertisement. And that's when I sent you a message and I said, oh, yeah, Black Adam's out this week.
I got to talk to Ethan.
We should probably watch it because even though we don't necessarily, or at least I don't necessarily think it's great or going to be great, it's something our listeners will want to hear in on.
Films and Stuff, reviewing everything on a bus poster.
That's right.
Everything you see on a double-decker bus poster.
Have I told you about the wonders of Metamucil? Let me tell you.
Okay, so your expectations were very low.
Yeah. And
what was the cinema like? Was it, you saw it on Friday night, opening night?
This is a DC issue, I think. Their last few movies have been so bad and have underperformed so much so that, my local cinema, what they'll do is for superhero movies, they'll have a midnight showing the night before. And okay. Black Adam did not have one. And when I spoke to the guy at the cinema, I was like, why? He's like, yeah, because when you walk into the cinema, you'll see it's not selling tickets as much as it could. That could be, by the way, a London only problem. And we'll talk about this, but it's on pace to be The Rock's biggest movie opening ever this weekend.
Really?
Oh, yeah. The projections are sky high. It made $25 million on Friday night.
Huh.
Yeah, so it looks like it's going to make around $65 to $75 million this weekend. That's what that was the last projection I saw. I mean, for The Rock, it's pretty dang good.
Okay, so we talked about your expectations going in. What was your mood coming out?
I thought it was better than I expected, but that's because I expected nothing.
Huh.
I thought it was fine. It wasn't for me.
So let me, before we go into the details,
yeah.
let me answer my own question.
Yes, please.
In terms of the story, I had zero level of enthusiasm for the story. Right. I think I do love The Rock, of course. Mm-hmm. I thought the title was weird, to say the least, and I'll leave it at that. And the character doesn't resonate at all with me. And the trailer was ho-hum. I don't remember anything funny or amazing about the trailer. But I was moderately enthused to see it just because it was a big movie. And I guess the feeling, and I'm not sure where I got this feeling, was that this would kind of be the reset of the new DC. And, this was going to be kind of like a milestone in terms of, kind of sorting out all the problems that they had, right? Batgirl was scrapped. The Flash is trying to be forgotten about. Black Adam was going to be kind of the start of something better. It was more or less kind of their Iron Man, let's start things all over again. So from that perspective, I was kind of like excited to see it. Maybe not excited, but like I was looking forward to it. I wasn't dreading it or indifferent about it.
Sure.
I saw it in Dubai. So there was a Thursday night, like a midnight, 1 a.m. Then, of course, there's Friday, which is a working day. Then the Saturday. I saw it Saturday morning at Dubai Mall, 11 a.m. So I would have expected...
Packed with kids?
I mean, 11 a.m. is maybe 2 hours on the early side. I mean, it's not a Saturday night, but still, like, I would have expected that would be in pretty busy. And I think that when I got there, there were 2 people seated. And then when it started, there was, I think, 6 people came after me, a group of 4 dudes and like another couple. So that's not really a whole lot of people. In terms of the movie itself, if we can dive into the details, I thought that it was visually very, very good, visually great. But the story, I mean, I've got a lot of questions for you. I'm hoping you can answer them because I'm not really clear on the story. And despite a pretty good performance by The Rock, I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about this dude. Like, when I watch Iron Man, everyone wants to be Robert Downey Jr. They want to be Iron Man. You know, when they see Captain America, everyone loves Chris Evans. You know, they want to be Captain America's friend or something.
Mm-hmm.
How am I supposed to feel about an anti-hero?
Yeah.
I just don't know what does DC... I want DC to tell me, Ethan, when you watch this movie, we want you to feel the following. I want to know what DC wants me to feel because I'm really not sure. Am I supposed to like him, idolize him, fear him? I'm not sure, right?
Yeah,
that's weird.
So let's start with that. Okay, actually, that's a good point because that's actually my second point that I've written down here. But there was massive cognitive dissonance for me.
Yeah.
The Rock is known for being this super smiley,
optimistic,
super charismatic guy. Like just being around him makes you feel safe and makes you want to smile, makes you want to laugh. And you've seen that with his movie choices, especially in the last like 3-4 years. Whether you like the movies or not, he's been with Kevin Hart. He's been with Ryan Reynolds. He's played these action-esque movies where he's part of the joke, but not the butt of the joke. And like he's kind of funny. His role in The Fast and the Furious, where you saw a transition from this dour action guy to this likable hero who kind of saves the day. You see who's an honorable guy. So you're just like, yeah, that's a good guy, right? You may not like his methods in that movie, or you may not agree with him only because Vin Diesel's supposed to be the hero of that. Yeah. But you're just like, hey, he's doing the right thing. And he's a good guy. To see him now transition from that, he's a smiley guy, let's put it that way. And in this movie, he is not smiling at all. And he is, in my opinion, not charismatic because he's so dour the entire time. He's like got the weight of the world on his shoulders. But do you? I think he's just a bad guy in this movie. The scenes of levity that he shows didn't land for me. So you know how in Guardians of the Galaxy...
Can you even name one?
Well, yeah. So in Guardians of the Galaxy, remember what was funny about Dave Bautista's character when he's playing Drax is he doesn't understand idioms and metaphors. He takes things literally, right?
Yeah.
So he's like, oh, I wouldn't be able to, when you say, oh, that went over his head, he's like, no, nothing would get over my head. My reflexes are too fast and I would catch it.
Yeah.
It's funny. The way, and obviously I'm just recounting it so it doesn't sound funny, but it's hilarious. And when, The Rock is Black Adam is telling you, being told by that kid, oh, you need a catchphrase. And, remember he's doing that thing where he's like, tell them that the man in black sent you, etc.
Yeah.
It didn't land for me. It just didn't.
I mean, I have to say that made me think of, I want to say Hitch.
The Terminator.
Hancock.
Oh, yeah.
Remember? Where the kid was telling Will Smith, right? Like, hey, you should compliment people and you should
It reminded me what I thought immediately was a mix of Drax from Guardians of the Galaxy and Arnie's Terminator from T2, where you have the kid teaching him like all the little catchphrases, how he should behave, like he's changing his behavioral programming. It comes off here, and it didn't come off really great because I thought the kid was the most annoying part, one of the most annoying parts of the movie.
Thank you. That kid was super annoying. Nothing personal, dude. I'm sure you're a cool kid and a good actor, but man, stay out of this movie. You added nothing.
Let me guess that one of the things that bothered you as well was his stupid skateboarding.
5 skateboards? He lives in a developing country. How does he have 5 skateboards?
Forget the skateboard number. Do you remember when he's walking down the steps with Black Adam and like he's using the skateboard for like a foot, then he picks it up, walks down some steps, uses it for another foot, picks up the skateboard, walks down the steps. My man, what are you doing?
Having lived in Dubai and many other Middle Eastern countries, I can really tell you that there is no one in the streets of Jordan, Iraq, Egypt skateboarding like a fool. No way.
Not
Nonsense.
Out in public in the middle of the day. It's too hot.
In the middle of the city. Like,
are you joking?
I agree. That was just annoying.
So
with the jacket tied around his waist and the backpack, like he's some like California.
You're
Irvine.
not Marty McFly in Southern California.
Oh. And super annoying.
And then, that inspirational thing that he tries to do where he's like, tries to get at the third act when the skeleton army comes down and he's trying to get, oh, by the way, spoiler alert. When he's trying to when his mom sends him to get backup and he goes and gets everyone and he does that stupid Diamond Dallas Page wrestler move where he puts the triangle and he gets everyone to come with him. I'm sorry, but if I saw you in the square at a time like this, I'd be like, get out of the way, you punk kid. I got to get off these streets. Right? Like, I'm not going to follow that little punk anywhere. But that kid was so annoying, and he just didn't land for me. Let's go back to the movie. I don't know, but that movie, I felt the movie was a little too long.
I don't necessarily disagree with you, but at the same time, I'm not sure that I agree with you. I mean, I thought it was okay at the beginning. I mean, I think they had to do a lot at the beginning to give you context of the story. And I have to say, I'm still a little bit fuzzy about it. But I think they had to do a lot because no one really knows this character. And there just needed to be a lot of background in terms of how did we get to this point? What are we looking for? Why is this relevant? Why is a person going to act the way that they act? I agree that part was a little bit long. Almost it needed to be, I don't want to say it needed to be longer, but it could have been clearer.
Or it could have been a part of the movie instead of an exposition.
I'm still just not clear, to be honest, on this whole movie. I mean, I feel like if I was at a test audience, if I was sitting at the Warner headquarters and the lights went on after I was screened this, I'd be in the back with my hand up. I'd wake up, okay, fine, question. I'd be like, yeah, I don't get it. Like, hold on. I know I just watched this movie, but sorry, I don't understand anything. Like, can you just explain it to me? And they'd be like, dude, like, you just watched the movie. What don't you understand? I'd be like, I don't understand any of it. And they'd be like, scribbling notes furiously, like, maybe we should re-edit this. Like, we've got a dude who doesn't understand any of our movie.
Yeah.
And I don't.
I think for me, the biggest problem with that is how you feel after the movie, which is your first point, which is you're confused as to what you should feel about this movie. And I'm with you because Is this guy being positioned by Warner Brothers as a hero, an anti-hero, or a villain? Those are the three real choices you have.
Can I ask you a question? What's an anti-hero?
Anti-heroes for me are guys who ultimately end up doing the right thing, but may not necessarily do it in the right way or with a lot of critical flaws. Like Deadpool? But like for me, the number one anti-hero, or the best anti-hero I can think of, Wolverine. Venom now is, but like the original Venom was just a villain, period. But like he's transitioned in the comics to also work with the good guys. Yeah. That and Tom Hardy's Venom is more of an anti-hero. You're right, but as a comic book character, he's more of a villain, or was more of a villain. If you're positioning The Rock and Black Adam as a hero, well, you've done it incorrectly because he shows no remorse. He kills. And in fact, at the end of the movie, he's convinced the heroes that it's okay and sometimes necessary to kill. Right? When he has that scene with Hawkman and he says, you know what I have to do. And Hawkman says, go kick his ass. That was Hawkman, who's supposed to be the superhero good guy, saying, yeah, kill him, which no hero would do.
I have a question though. Like, why is The Rock or Black Adam, why is he upset? Like, why is he in a bad mood?
Yeah, well, exactly.
I mean, it was his son died, right?
The way it was explained in the movie was The Rock was never really the champion.
Right. His son was the champion.
Exactly. And because he was dying, his son said, I can save you. You have to become the champion. And so he transfers the power to his dad, to The Rock. And the moment The Rock takes the power from him, his son gets shot in the chest with an arrow and dies.
Sorry, I still don't understand that though. So I understand at the beginning I saw this, right? His son kind of says to everybody, I've got the Eternium, right?
Yep.
And then because he's got the Eternium, he becomes very powerful, right? So then the king wants to kill him. Is that right?
Yeah, so he got the Eternium.
Yeah.
Everybody and his dad wanted him to just give the Eternium to the king because they were slaves.
Mm-hmm.
He says that we'll never be free if we keep acquiescing to those who have power.
Got it.
He runs away. Okay. He steals the Eternium from the guard's hand, runs away. Okay. He obviously gets captured. And so the king has him executed. But just before he gets executed, he gets zapped away by the wizards.
Okay.
And he becomes Shazam.
Okay.
Not Black Adam, Shazam.
Got it.
He comes back to Earth as Shazam.
Okay.
He goes to see his parents.
Got it. And that's where he transfers it to The Rock, his dad.
Because he finds that as punishment, the king kills his mom and hurts his dad. He goes back to his parents. He sees that his mom is dead and his dad is dying. The Rock is dying. To save him, he transfers the powers of Shazam to The Rock. And the moment he does that, he takes an arrow to the chest and he gets killed.
Okay. So then The Rock is given the powers. Well, isn't Shazam a different person though?
Exactly. So this is my point. So The Rock is given the powers of Shazam.
Yeah.
And then he wants to go on like this revenge killing spree.
Right.
He kills everyone. And because he does that, the wizards pull him back. Right. And they take the power away from him, they don't take the power away from him, they imprison him. And he's stripped of his powers of Shazam. And this goes back a couple years to the original Shazam movie, which came out. So the wizards are still looking for someone who can become Shazam, and they end up giving it to Billy Batson in that movie.
I got it. So that makes sense. So Black Adam is angry because the king killed his son and his wife.
Yes.
Typical story, right?
Very typical trope.
Okay. Now he thinks that he doesn't have to be nice to anybody. He's got kind of a soft side sometimes where he saves an archaeologist, he saves a kid, but basically anything else he wants to do, he's not going to let anyone control him or tell him what to do. And it's okay to do whatever is necessary for kind of the greater good, right? Okay, fine. Question. We've been introduced to the Justice Society.
Oh, man, we'll get to that too. Oh, yeah. So before we get to Justice Society, I just want to finish this thought, right? So you have a chance to depict him as a hero, but you obviously can't because he's a murderer, a self-admitted murderer who shows no remorse and in fact convinces the hero that it's okay to murder by the end of the movie.
Yeah.
In the comics, Black Adam starts off as a villain. And then in the new revamp, he gets kind of shown as an anti-hero. So fine. If you're an anti-hero, why are you being shown or portrayed as such a frowny and dour guy for most of the movie? I think like 95% of the movie, he's not smiling. He's not doing anything.
I'd say 100%.
Right? None of that. And you know how at the end of the movie, he shows a little bit of remorse. He gives up his power in the third act. He gives up his power. He gets taken back into that prison cell only for him to escape. Again, that whole sequence for me was a little unnecessary.
And I guess what was jarring to me is that you've got someone who for almost the entire movie is the villain, right? And you finally not even beat him. You manipulate him to give up his powers. And then Pierce Brosnan, who I thought was great.
Oh, I loved him.
As some dude that I've never heard of before. But anyway, he was great. And then he says, oh man, we can't beat this other guy ourselves. So I guess we should just bring back this really bad guy, which is kind of the lesser of two evils. And kind of that would make sense in some ways, except, well, what happened to Superman?
Yeah.
What happened to anyone else?
Exactly. Especially if you're supposed to be working with these guys. Like, don't you have like a bat phone that you can pick up and say, hey, I need you Bats, or I need you Superman, I need you Flash, any of these guys.
Yeah.
The A-Team, you can call them anytime.
I agree. I mean, it just really does not make sense. I mean, I don't know. Pierce Brosnan, I guess, could see the future. But anyway, which makes him the equivalent of Doctor Strange. But it just didn't make sense to me that they would let this guy out after all they did to capture him. Then they voluntarily let him out. It just seemed like, oh, obviously. He gets out, and then he helps them. And now they can't put the genie back in the bottle, so to speak. But then Amanda Waller, who plays that role so good, even though she's so unlikable.
Oh, man. It's so funny you say that because I have thoughts on Amanda Waller, too.
She comes and she's like, hey, anyway, we've got a guy who can beat you. Well, if you've got a guy who can beat him, why did you need to let him out in the first place? Why didn't you just use that guy to get rid of the king? And then you could keep Black Adam, the bad guy, in cryostasis or whatever.
Yeah, well, you know what? Let's jump to it because you raise a point I also want to talk about is that end credit sequence. That end credit sequence really was upsetting.
So can I tell you how I found out about it?
Yeah, please.
I watched it with someone. And she said to me, as the lights came on after it was done, she said, I thought Henry Cavill was supposed to be in this movie. I'm like, really? She's like, yeah, it says here he's in this movie. I'm like, oh, there's got to be a mid-credit sequence then. Right? Everyone left. I'm like, we got to stay. There's got to be something. She's like, really? I'm like, yeah, it says he's going to be in this. We haven't seen him yet. So we stay. Then we stay. We see that. I know you're going to tell me why you're upset about it. I'm upset about it for the reason I just mentioned, which is, why did they just use him earlier? And two, are we setting this up for a sequel that it's going to be Superman versus Black Adam? These two are going to fight. And at the end, someone's going to say, why did you say my mom's name? And they're going to handshake and be all like bro fist bumps and like best friends again. Is this going to be another Schneider disappointment?
This is why I was so pissed off. For all of those reasons and more. It's so
all
annoying.
Of them.
Because, so here's the number one problem, okay? By having The Rock face off with Henry Cavill's Superman, you instantly elevate Black Adam to Superman's level in the comic book Superpower League, which is 100% BS.
Yeah.
Black Adam is powerful, don't get me wrong, but Black Adam cannot take Superman because in this universe and in at least the DC Pantheon, Superman is untouchable at the moment. So
He has to be.
cannot bring a C-tier villain to an A-tier hero. It's just not, it's beneath Superman for him to show up there. Like, I just think it's absolutely ridiculous, especially when Black Adam in this movie doesn't seem to really have any weaknesses. He's got a little bit of weakness to Eternium, but he seems to shrug that off by lasering himself down at the end of a ninth nap.
Yeah.
But really, he doesn't really have anything. He's able to take on the entire JSA on his own, which also, by the way, we'll get to is farcical. We'll talk about the Justice Society. So I thought this was a real wasted opportunity because the next Black Adam movie, there is no way they're going to do a Black Adam versus Superman movie. No way. No way, no how. It doesn't make sense. Not just in terms of comic book hierarchy, but just in terms of like, we don't even know what Superman's situation is in the DC universe.
I'm going to be Ron Howard. I'm going to be Ron Howard narrating in the background. And then DC announced that there's going to be Superman versus Black Adam movie.
Yeah, but like this is, which is the dumbest thing they could do because not just canonically, but like especially ideologically.
Pete is going supersonic over here.
They should be fighting Shazam versus Black Adam. They both have the same power set. They're both derived from the same power set. Why would you have it any other way?
I'll tell you why. Because Shazam versus Black Adam would sell 0.0. Actually, it would sell 2 tickets. One to you and one to me.
You. Yeah. Well,
2 tickets. No one wants to see Billy Baston, floppy hair, weirdo, 16-year-old kid who can't do anything properly against a grumpy 55-year-old Rock. No one wants to see that movie. Man.
I think that they could have been really good with the guy who's playing him. Anyway, look, let me just give you a scene that I drew up that I think would have been a better mid-credit sequence. Okay?
I want to hear it. Yeah.
So absolutely forget about Amanda Waller. I think it would have been better if, for example, there's like a TV screen and he's sitting on his throne or wherever he is sitting, right? Okay. And he sees a news report about now how Kandak is instantly elevated to like a superpower status because of Black Adam. And so there's like a bunch of talking heads, about how, oh, well, Black Adam is a bad guy. He's murdered so many people. Yes, but he got rid of the one guy saying, oh, but he got rid of the gang. Yes, but at what cost? Like, at what point are you still a hero? Blah, blah, blah. All you see is a flash of lightning, destroys the TV, and there's lots of smoke, just like there was when Superman landed. But instead of Superman, you just see the lightning bolt from Shazam's uniform shine through the fog. You don't see Shazam. You don't see Zachary Levi. You just see the lightning bolt, and you see a 7-Eleven Big Gulp. And you hear him slurping a Slurpee through it. And then he says something along the lines of, I think you and I need to talk.
Well, it's not bad.
And I think that sets up Shazam 3 or Black Adam 2 perfectly because it's natural for Shazam to fight Black Adam and vice versa. And if you want them to get along because they're anti-heroes and a hero, you have a common villain or you find some other way to integrate the rest of the universe. This is the problem with the DC, is they do this every movie. They run or they sprint before they can even walk. I don't think this movie is great, but I have no doubt in my mind because of The Rock and because of the effects and because of who it is, they're going to make a boatload of money. I think they're on track to make $60 million this weekend, maybe even more. It's crazy money. They're going to make a lot. I think that instead of setting up a Superman versus Black Adam thing, they should just focus on their own little mini universe, which is the Shazam universe, before they start talking about the bigger universe, because that's precisely the same cognitive dissonance you had, which is, wait a minute, then why did you free Black Adam at all to fight the devil? Why couldn't you have literally just called Superman earlier? It makes me furious because the DC has some excellent heroes and excellent villains, but they keep shooting themselves in the foot. And this time, I don't even blame DC, I blame The Rock, because I read an article that said this was at The Rock's insistence that Henry Cavill comes back as Superman, and they filmed this only a couple weeks ago, apparently. Just for this. I think this is so nonsensical, especially when Shazam's already filmed. You have all the stars.
2023 is coming out, right?
You could have easily had Zachary Levi. You could have had the entire, and if you want to make it a show of force, have all 7 of the Shazams there against him. That would have showed at least that Black Adam is someone to be taken seriously. He's powerful, but that there's also people on his level playing field without having to introduce Superman. I just think it's a waste to bring Henry Cavill back as Superman for Black Adam. I think that there are other villains out there who are far more appropriate to Superman's level.
I hear you. Let me make a statement.
Sorry,
but first give you an example. Cool off. I don't know if you remember, but when I was a kid, there was the Oreo cookie, and then there was the generic brand called Hydrox.
Yeah.
Yeah? We got the Hydrox cookies.
Yep.
They looked like an Oreo, and in a way, they kind of tasted like an Oreo, but they were called Hydrox. What if we called this movie Avengers Hydrox? Because as far as I can tell, it's almost everything that's in Avengers, but something different. We got Hawkman, right?
Yep.
We've got Pierce Brosnan. We've got Cyclone. We've got someone called Atom Smasher.
Yep.
Right? Who not only looks a lot like Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the size of Ant-Man. We've got, instead of, what's the material that, vibranium, we've got Eternium, right?
Yep.
Is this not, right? Instead of Wakanda, we've got Kahndaq.
Kahndaq, yeah. So
is this not Hydrox Avengers?
This is so that's really funny you say that, because in a lot of ways it is, because so here's something I don't know if you know or if I'm misremembering this. I actually think Hydrox came out before Oreo, and I'm pretty sure that's the case.
Maybe.
I think Hydrox is the original and Oreo just had better branding.
Maybe.
In that regard, a lot of DC stuff came out before Marvel. Marvel just did it better.
Yeah.
Right? And so in that regard, your comparison is apt. It's also like there's a lot of parallels between DC and Marvel. A lot of parallels. In fact, Shazam was actually originally called Captain Marvel, but then ended up having to change their name to Shazam after Marvel co-opted Captain Marvel for their own character. So there's a lot of similarities and a lot of theft going on between these two. Or maybe not theft is me being willfully ignorant, but
inspiration. Yeah.
So I don't know. Let's talk about the JSA. So you said you liked Pierce Brosnan. What did you think of Cyclone? What did you think of the team? What did you think of the whole team? Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, it's really hard to watch this, though. Again, going back to my Hydrox comment, it's hard not to watch this and not think of the Avengers. And so I know Justice Society is a thing, just like Justice League was a thing, although I think that in terms of branding, that's a little bit confusing. I mean, I like Pierce Brosnan's character. I thought that was I thought it was a great character. I thought his powers were super cool. His helmet and his uniform. I liked Cyclone. I liked Hawkman. I thought that dude who played Carter Hall was superb. I thought Atom Smasher was super annoying. But again, how can I look at them and not think that this is just a copy and paste of what's worked for Avengers? It's so similar. It's really, really annoying that I felt like DC, even though all these guys are cool, Hawkman is kind of cool. I thought Cyclone did a great job. Atom Smasher was 100% annoying, but they're like, hey, can you make yourself look like Mark Ruffalo and act like him as well, where you're kind of like hunky, but, socially awkward? Yeah? If you could play that character, that would be great. Ugh. I just felt like DC is just like, hey, what worked for Marvel? Well, let's just do the same thing. Let's call them Justice Society. Let's get people with very similar powers. We'll have one who's the Marvel equivalent of Hawkman.
It's a tough call. There's no direct one that I can think of.
There is. There's that guy who's with Winter Soldier.
Yeah, maybe Falcon.
Yeah,
maybe.
How can you look at Hawkman, who's a very chill, buff black actor with a suit with wings, and not think of, right?
Yeah,
Falcon.
Well, okay.
They're the same person.
I'm with you. As much as I liked the JSA, I just found them to be a little unnecessary in this movie. They were introduced to people so that we could understand how powerful Black Adam is. Because the first 2/3 of the movie, Black Adam is fighting the JSA. And you get to understand the power set that the JSA has. And then you get to understand that the power set Black Adam has. And he's able to single-handedly destroy all four of them.
Can I ask a question first? Have we ever seen Pierce Brosnan, his Dr. Fate or Kent Nelson character? Have we ever seen Carter Hall, Hawkman? Have we seen Cyclone Adams? We've never seen them before.
None of them.
Only in the comics.
None of them. Only in the comics. And I know exactly what you're going to say because it's my point as well. I have exactly the same point.
Isn't this two different movies then? Why don't we have a movie about Justice Society so I get introduced to who are these people?
Thank you, because that is exactly what I said. Why is this the first time we're seeing them? And why are we seeing them positioned in such a way that they're looking like the bad guys?
I agree. Like, I just don't understand. Like, I was just kind of like, again, I wanted to like just raise my hand and be like, hold on. Who is Hawkman? I'm sorry I didn't read the comics. Who is Hawkman? Why is everything so similar? Like Pierce Brosnan, like, why do they have the same type of jet as they've got
Professor X in X-Men?
Yes. I mean,
it's almost exactly the same.
Yeah. I just felt like, okay, if you want to have a Justice Society, honestly, I actually really liked, except for Atom Smasher, who I thought was super annoying. I was down with Cyclone. I love Hawkman. I really sincerely like Hawkman. I love Pierce Brosnan. Introduce me to those three characters, get rid of Atom Smasher. Introduce me to those three characters in a standalone movie. I'm totally in, to be honest. And then now there's movie number 2 called Justice Society versus Black Adam. I'm okay watching that movie because I already know these folks. I like them. I want them to win. Now they've got a new villain. Okay.
My comment was either you show the JSA in their own movie first.
Yes.
Or, God, you've had so many terrible movies in earlier where you could have introduced the JSA. Since they're already working with Amanda Waller, why couldn't we have had a name drop and an end credit sequence in Suicide Squad? Or in the Suicide Squad movie, or in the Peacemaker TV show where you have 8 episodes.
Oh, yeah.
You don't even need to show them. You can do an end credit sequence. You can do a name drop. There's so many things they could have done, but they kind of just threw these people at screen.
I was
and
just
for people like you, it's a total nightmare.
But not just for me. It also seemed like they were meeting themselves for the first time. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Atom Smasher's like, hey, who are you? I'm Cyclone.
True.
Who are you? I'm Atom Smasher.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to the team.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they've got to have Atom Smasher always eating and always munching. Like, I mean, a dope. I mean, it's just, nothing's funny about that. Right? I mean,
look, the only funny, quote unquote, funny thing I liked was his interaction with Hawkman, because every time he messed up, he's like, you and me, we're going to have a talk on the ship.
Yeah.
That was it, because that was pure comic relief.
Dude, that's comic relief by a really stretch.
No, that's slapstick comic relief. That's all
that's not even slapstick. That's a moment of levity in a serious fight scene.
Exactly.
No one, that's not even a laugh. That's a crack a smile like, haha, Hawkman. Yeah. You know? That idiot Atom Smasher. He's always making a mess, you know?
But to be fair, it is the same secret to success that Marvel has had, where they've sprinkled humor like that even in serious fight scenes, right?
I'm okay with the concept, but that's the best they could do.
Yeah.
Is him saying, hey, me and you, we're gonna have words. That's all the writers, all the brain power, all the sharpened pencils in that room, and that's.
I get it. It landed for me, but I can understand that it didn't, especially because it seemed a little bit all the more out of place given that was it. Really, there were 2 moments of levity in that regard, and everything else, none of them really landed at all, and none of them really, like the kid, none of his moments of levity worked.
No.
Mo Amer, the uncle, the brother, he was so, but that's it.
But that's also, I mean, again, that's taking the page. Okay, let's have a fat Arab guy, and he's kind of clueless, and he's not brave, right? I mean, that's how old is that trope? Let's just have the fat clueless guy, who's afraid of everything, but then at one point he mans up a little bit.
Here's my take. Okay, Pierce Brosnan, by far the best. By far the best.
Oh yeah.
It's a shame that they killed him off in this movie. Yeah. So if they bring him back and make a prequel, which is like the origins of the JSA, I'm all in because I really like Pierce Brosnan.
I totally agree.
Hawkman, fundamentally, I didn't have a problem with him. I thought he was a little overly aggressive, but that's actually in line with the comics. He is an alien, which they didn't really dive upon too much in this show. But his suit comes off as more mechanical, but like his race, the Targaryens, actually have wings like birds.
He's a Targaryen? Oh,
Thanagarian.
Oh man, I thought he was a Targaryen. I'm
my mistake.
Let's get into House of the Dragon straight away. This is a super episode.
Double episode. So no, he's a Thanagarian, and he had these metallic wings. You're right. It felt more like Falcon from Captain America than it did as a true organic being. That was one design element I didn't really like. Also, if you're open to the idea of aliens, which it's a bit weird that Waller would be working with an alien, considering she has a hard-on against Superman, who's a known alien. So I don't understand how they're working together. Like, the thing about the whole Amanda Waller thing is a real weird thing, because the whole point of Suicide Squad 1 was, we're creating a Suicide Squad to be able to fight people like Superman because we cannot trust people like Superman. Yet, in this movie, she calls Superman as her big gun. So that doesn't make sense to me. Especially when she could have sent Peacemaker. She could have sent any of the Suicide Squad, Harley Quinn, or any of them. So that seemed a little weird that she would do that.
I mean, she's so, again, it's like she's supposed to be Samuel L. Jackson, right?
Yes.
In Avengers. But Amanda Waller, by the way, she's amazing. I've seen her in so many shows, and I love her as an actress. And she plays Amanda Waller better than anyone can play it. That's not a character that you like. Yeah, she's not likable at all.
It's not likable, and the problem is that she also, if you've watched these movies, she has no more credibility, because in Suicide Squad 2, she basically gets usurped, right? Like there's a mini coup at the office and they beat her in the head so that they can continue the mission.
Yes.
So why would she still be in charge?
I agree. And if you think about Superman, who's supposed to be so pure, Superman's not going to be taking...
He's not going to be working for a murderer. And Amanda Waller is a murderer.
At most, he's working for... I mean, he's kind of his own thing. But if he's talking to anyone, he's talking to like the president... Right?
Yeah.
He's definitely not talking to like some black ops secret person who's no way is he taking orders from her.
And
no
you raised
way.
A super good point, and I didn't even think of. Why would the JSA want to work with her? The guys who spent the entire movie saying you cannot kill, who've gone out of their way to save the bad guys and the henchmen, why would they work for a known murderer in Amanda Waller?
No. I agree.
It doesn't make sense. So look, again, Atom Smasher, okay, he wasn't my favorite. Cyclone, also the same, wasn't my favorite. I got sick and tired of her stupid slow motion effects. And I didn't see her really do anything with her Cyclone powers. That was
honestly, it just looked like her dress was like bleeding
iridescent
or something.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I wasn't a big fan of that. The twist at the end of the movie that we've already talked about, where you find out that it wasn't actually The Rock who was Shazam, but it was his son. I mean, it was super, super meh. I don't know. I just thought that the entire movie was let down, especially by the third act, which became another random portal in the sky, which we've seen in how many movies now? Skeletons come out from the ground, which also doesn't make sense. And they're fighting what appears to be the literal devil as the main bad guy. Like, I don't get any of that. Like, it makes no sense to me.
If I have to predict, just because it's DC, which means it's going to be in every cinema, just because there's nothing else out to see, because it's got The Rock.
Exactly.
I feel like it's going to have very similar performance as the latest Thor, which is it's going to have a gangbusters opening weekend.
And then slow down very quickly.
Everyone's going to see it and be like, bah, don't bother. Don't waste your time. And it's just going to like fall off a cliff the second weekend.
Gun to my head right now, I don't see them making $750 million on this movie. I just don't see it. I definitely don't see them making $1 billion. No way.
Yeah. I mean, I said that about Jurassic Disaster too. And
yeah, that's true. You're right. I mean, neither of us have the best track record on this, but yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I feel like we're not wrong in terms of, even though Jurassic Park had like terrible like audience ratings, people just went to it, you know? That's partly because it's kids, and I don't think you're going to have to see as many kids go to this thing. Like,
my cinema was filled with kids, by the way. I forgot to say. So, and by the way, can I also say, if you're introducing a new character, maybe use the character's name. Like, everyone was calling him Teth Adam, and nobody called him Black Adam until the title credits at the end of the movie. And nobody says Black Adam throughout the entire main movie. How is that? Like, what sense does that make? Everyone's calling him Teth Adam. And you're like, wait, I thought I was seeing a movie about Black Adam. Who the hell is Teth Adam?
I mean, the whole thing is just, God bless DC that they can sort out their shit and still like make it like backwards at the same time. You know, I mean, like, honestly, no one can just create problems the way that DC can do, even though they swear that they've got it all worked out. I mean,
they've been swearing up and down for the last couple of years, but genuinely speaking, now that Zaslav is in charge, Shazam is probably the last of Shazam and Flash, if and when that comes out, and that's a big if at this point, are the last two movies under Walter Hamada's, let's say, aegis, and he's gone. He just left the company. Anything beyond Flash and Shazam and Aquaman 2, after that, hopefully we see a more unified vision. Hopefully. But these three movies are the last ones.
The thing is, Pete, I mean, if you look at the Justice League, everyone there is, I know now we've got this culture with Lou and everyone else that you can like be a superhero until you're like 70s, but like everyone there is getting a little bit on the old side to be a superhero. Aquaman's not young anymore. Ben Affleck's...
Momoa's got to be in his 40s by now. Affleck's got to be in his 50s by now.
I guess Affleck's out, right? And now Robert Pattinson's in.
Right, and he's still young.
Gal Gadot.
But she's still fit and very capable. I have no qualms with her. I think she's good. In fact, I mean, like, of all of them, she's probably my favorite depiction. Oh, I take that back. Cavill is, followed now by Gadot. Yeah.
Is he going to continue?
Well, he's still 39. He's about to turn 40. I hope he continues because you can do Superman in your 40s. I don't think that's a problem. We've got a problem with Ezra Miller. I think he's got to go. He's just, it's not a good look. A, I didn't like him, but B, more importantly, like, it's not a good look for Warner Brothers to keep Ezra Miller on.
And he's not a name. I mean, to be honest, he's not so...
So strategically, that makes sense for him to, sorry, I keep saying him, but it's they, right? So, or whatever it is. So I think strategically it makes sense because if you're a no name, you're also cheaper. But if you're also going to be playing a flagship founding member of the Justice League, you probably want something with a little bit of credentials.
Yeah. I just don't feel like he's got any, like, I mean, certainly he doesn't have any goodwill now. I mean,
none whatsoever. I just don't see.
He doesn't play the role like in a way that no one else could possibly, have such a nuanced performance. You know, like Robert Downey Jr. owned Iron Man.
Yeah.
Like we cannot have this role without him. You know, like no one else could fill his shoes. They could swap him out with like anyone right now. And to be honest, no one would be up in arms. No one would be like, oh, like Ezra Miller played that so much better. You've got to.
It was a generic, and again, not a bad thing. He played the role that he was given, but I think that, you know, in general, I think it was a very generic showcase. At this point, Warner Brother runs the risk of alienating other stars for other movies if they keep promoting a known abuser and criminal to be in their movies.
Yeah.
You know,
and this isn't like Winona Ryder just kind of like shoplifting.
This is like kidnapping. This is like
really ugly
cult
stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's not things you can sweep under the rug very easily, right? And Winona Ryder, you could, you know, she was young. She was under the influence of alcohol. It was just petty shoplifting. Not a big deal in the grand scheme of crimes. The kind of stuff that Ezra Miller has done is stuff that it's very haunting. And it's not something that'll go away quickly. And they've been rightly called out for it. Like there's been a lot of actors who have said, listen, how is it possible that you would fire some people for the smallest of crimes, but you're still promoting Ezra Miller's movies? After all the stuff that's happened, he shouldn't be there.
So what's your final rating? What's your final rating for
I don't
Black
think
Adam?
this should come as a surprise. It's a skip for me. I will say that some of the action sequences are good. Pierce Brosnan, for me, if he weren't in the movie, I would have totally been even less out. He really did the best he could to save the movie. But at the end of the day, I just don't think it was enough. I could be convinced to upgrade it to a wait for streaming, but I just don't feel it with this movie. There's so many plot holes that I couldn't get over and so many things that made me furious that I'm out. So for me, it's a skip.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably more critical on the movie, I think, than you are, but I'm not going to give it a skip. I'm going to give it a wait for streaming. It is a blockbuster, and I think that it's something that, I mean, I'm looking at it this way. If I'm with my family and we need to choose a movie, this would kind of satisfy everybody. No one would love it at the end, but no one would walk out of it midway through, you know?
Sure.
Can't choose a rom-com, can't choose like a horror, can't choose like something too sci-fi. This is, I mean, probably an okay family movie. Everyone will get through it and be like, okay, well, yeah, not great, but, you know, we watched it together as a family. If you've got boyfriend, girlfriend, you know, you want to go see something, no one's really going to say, like, I can't believe you dragged me to that thing. Definitely, it's not a must-see, but, I mean, I guess I give it a wait for streaming based on that.
Yeah.
But in terms of my prognostications, like I said, I think this is going to go the way of Thor. It's going to have a pretty substantial opening weekend. The brand, the name, The Rock. And I think there's going to be no one who wants to see it a second time. And the word of mouth is going to be pretty dour.
You hit the nail on the head. This is probably why for me it's a skip, is that I think of most of the superhero movies that we've seen and most of the movies we've seen like Top Gun. The moment I see it in the cinema, I know that I'm looking forward to seeing it a second time, either in the cinema or on streaming at home. Even when this hits HBO Max in 16 weeks or whatever it's going to be, I'm not going to be tuning into it. There's none of the action sequences are so good that I desperately need to see them again. And certainly none of the acting is good that I want to see it so much. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, that's Black Adam.
Black Adam. And if anyone can explain to me and Pete what came first, the Oreo or the hydroxy cookie, you've got a hoodie with your name on it, and maybe even a Choose Your Own Adventure hardcover book as well.
That's right. All right. So leave a comment. You know, if you like this movie, tell us why you liked it. I'm genuinely interested. I really would like to know what made this movie good for you or bad for you. Let us know. So drop us a comment at the bottom of this video. Send us an email, aloha@filmsandstuffpodcast.com. or send Ethan and myself a tweet at F&S Podcast on Twitter.
We always love hearing from you. Pete, that's a wrap. Thank you for a great episode. Listeners, thank you for tuning in.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Ethan.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Films and Stuff. If you haven't already, please subscribe and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever podcasts are downloaded. Films and Stuff. There is no substitute.